A lot of people hate shading noses, and the thing about noses is that out of context, just a drawing of a nose always looks like a weird shape because noses are weird shapes, okay? Once you draw a nose with a full face, and there's eyes and there's mouths, most of the time people don't even really look at the nose. They look more at the eyes and the mouths. So don't worry too much about it. The other thing about noses is it's literally a three-dimensional object sticking out of your face. The only way to make something look three-dimensional is shading, okay? There isn't any hard lines. There's not lines on the side of the nose. It's all shading, okay? So really the key to a good nose is just really good shading. So I start with drawing the base of the nose. And so I start with this wiggly line. And this suggests the nostrils and the space between the nostrils and the other nostril. Okay, so I'm looking at this nose right here, this line right here. Nostril, space between the nostril, nostril. Okay, and so all over your paper I'd like you to practice them. And look at your reference photo for that line. You're looking for nostril, space, nostril. Okay, so I want you to draw those all over your paper. Spread them out. Do not have them close to each other. Okay. The next step is I do the side of the nostril right here. They're kind of like parenthesis shapes. So you don't have them touch. And they curl underneath like that. Okay. So add that onto all of yours. Experiment with spacing, different shapes, what works for you, and look at your reference photo for individual differences. Okay, those are really the only lines that I'm going to draw on this whole demo. The rest is going to be shading. So the first thing I do is use the side of my pencil lead and shade the whole area on the nose and around the nose. Okay, this is to suggest skin tone, okay, and just give us a nice base layer to add onto and to erase our highlights from. Okay, and I always start lighter and then I go darker. Now, thinking about skin tone, you can do it as dark as you'd like to reference how dark you'd like your skin tone to be. Okay, we tend to think skin is lighter than it is. I don't know why, people just get afraid of shading a face, but skin and faces have shadows. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is the darkest area of the nose, which is going to be the nostrils and the shadow underneath the nose. The whole nose, since it's three-dimensional and since light is usually coming from up above, cast a shadow. The nose will cast a shadow onto the face. So I'm going to use the point of my pencil and get this edge really crisp and dark. And then I'm going to use the side of my lead to shade it down. And there's really not a clear distinction of where the nose ends and where the shadow of the nose starts. It's just kind of cast a shadow onto the face. Okay, this step may look a little weird at first, but it won't look weird after a minute. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do is put little shadows around the parentheses. And again, you can always make things darker. I wouldn't make things too dark at first. So I'm putting a little shading on the side of this nostril here, and I'm connecting it to the shadow underneath. Okay, you want them to connect. So I've got a little shadow here, connect it to this shadow here, and nice, smooth fading. I don't have any dark lines. I'm not really pressing very hard at all. I'm just slowly building up the darkness with more layers. Okay? So I don't really press hard at all with shading a nose. Second period. This demo is for you guys too. Please watch. Okay, the other thing about a nose is that, okay, so from the side of a nose, say I'm looking at a nose from the side. Okay, here's someone's lip. Right here, this all has light on it, okay? Since light's coming from up above, this all has light. At some point the nose changes direction and all this underneath Okay, where the nostril is and right here, all this is in shadow because it's underneath, the light isn't hitting it. So if you look at your reference, you can kind of see where that shadow starts. It's right here, the highlight's up top, the shadow's down here. So you can see all this is in shadow, all this is in shadow, okay? So I'm gonna shade the whole base of the nose a little bit. Okay, now the side of the nose. Now to make it look three-dimensional, I'm going to add the shading that goes up the sides of the nose. This you have to be so slow and careful with, okay? One thing people do when they do this is they do what's called a Christmas tree nose. They shade like this down the side. Okay, that's what I call a Christmas tree nose. No Christmas tree noses, we do not want that. You use very gentle light circles and you slowly build it up, okay? If it ends up too dark, it's hard to erase it and not ruin your whole drawing, okay? So start lighter, you can always add more layers after. So I'm doing circles, very light. You probably may not even be able to see it on camera right now. Okay, see I'm just very gently shading up the side of the nose. And then when you get to the bridge of the nose right here, it naturally comes in. Okay, like see here's like an eyebrow. Here's where your eyes are. It naturally comes in a little bit. So there might be a little shadow at the top of the bridge of the nose right between the eyes. Okay, and then as we did on the eyes, the eye sockets up to the eyebrows. So the eyebrows would be probably like up here. Okay, there's going to be some deeper shading on the side of the eye sockets. Okay, so you can kind of suggest that if you want. That's kind of like the end of the nose right there is where it meets the eyes, okay? And then the lip dip. The lip dip is gonna help too. The lip dip are these two little lines, okay? We'll talk about them when we do lips too, but since they connect to the nose, so you just shade. So this is the shape of the lip dip. It's like two lines that angle outward a little bit, okay? But you don't want to really draw lines, you want to do shading. So you just shade two little lines and that suggests the lip dip enough. Okay. And then the last thing, I don't have a kneaded eraser on me. Kneaded eraser is best for the highlights, but you want to add a highlight down the bridge of the nose, especially if it got too dark. So here's a highlight, here's a highlight. So kind of like how we do shade with a pencil, I'm just kind of shading, reverse shading with my eraser. A highlight down the middle of the nose. Okay, and that is your nose demo. Thanks.